Hey everyone, happy Aquarius New Moon. Now, this new moon also marks the Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year, which is also telling of itself because with the moon, it represents our emotions, our body, our home, caregivers, parents. That is a lot of different topics to cover. And it's also quite nice as well because we've had a few weeks now to integrate Pluto's ingress into Aquarius. And for some, you might be thinking of new beginnings that are going to be either planted in and around this new moon that will then take shape over the next couple months. Because remember, with lunar cycles, we have the new moon, and then 6 months later, we have the full moon in that sign to reap the rewards. And also, interestingly enough, in about 8 weeks, give or take, we have the eclipses, which is also going to be a time of great change. So this makes this new moon one where it's likely that you already feel this momentum or are very definitive in what needs to change. Because if we're talking about Aquarius energy, it can be talked about in terms of the humanitarian, the rebel, the independent thinker, someone that really, in my opinion, searches for the truth, is wanting to be of service to the collective. And also with Aquarius energy, ethics are a big part of that as well. So our personal ethics and how we move through life, ethics in business, ethics in relationships. And if we're talking about fixed air, which is what Aquarius is, what would be fixed air? The truth, ethics, our beliefs, our mindset. And these are going to be also amplified in this as well during this Aquarius new moon in relationship to your emotions, your body, your home, parents, children, all of these things, because you get to decide what is working and what is not. And quite simply, how is your body feeling? How is your emotional state? How is your mental health? Aquarius is an air sign. So if we feel like we keep hitting up against a wall or that things aren't moving, then guess what? This gets to be a new moon where you are shifting things, where you are having greater conversations, where you are in the recipient energy of higher knowledge to have that breakthrough, to move outside of your comfort zone. Excuse me. And also, that's very indicative as well. If there's something that you need to say, or if you are healing, expanding your throat chakra, then this would be a phenomenal time in and around this new moon to have those conversations. And this is also a good time to bring up the chart just so I can show you all the transits in and around this Aquarius new moon. So we have February 9th, 2:58 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, it was interesting that I coughed at that exact moment because look at all the planets that we have in Aquarius. We have Pluto, Mercury, the moon, and the sun. So we have 4 out of 10 planets in an air sign. This would be a phenomenal time to have those types of conversations with other people, because Aquarius energy, it really is this collective energy. And this doesn't have to be a tumultuous or dramatic conversation. This can just be telling someone that you love them, telling someone that you are grateful for them. Sometimes you just need another person to hold space for you as you are working through your own insecurities, stressors, excitement, whatever it is. And sometimes you just need to hear something from a loved one, someone that you trust. And just hearing it from them is going to activate something within you, or it's going to calm you down, or it's going to know that you have that support from another person. I'll give a really quick example. My math teacher in high school was phenomenal. He got multiple offers from the university to go teach, but he just really liked the system in high school. He got his summers off to travel in Europe. He was also kind of like very gregarious and charming and just like very fun, but also very smart. I think he might have been a Gemini. which is the best manifestation of that energy. But he was someone that prepared us really well for university and for calculus and those higher caliber math classes. And I remember one of the finals, I was really stressed and I just really wanted to do the best that I possibly could. And I told him that, and he said, "I'm not worried about you." And he just said it with such confidence that knowing that he believed in me that way just changed something in my mind where I was like, right, I don't need to be stressed out. I already have the knowledge, and knowing that I have the support of someone that I trust, that I admire, someone who is so smart, completely shifted the way that I studied. And I also performed well in that final. And why I'm sharing this is because sometimes when we just keep all that bottled in, where we don't want to share our worries, what's on our mind, what's on our heart, we're closing ourselves off to that support. We're closing ourselves off for that community. We're closing ourselves off from connection. And that doesn't benefit anyone. And I think that if we're looking at Pluto, it's at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And even if we just rewind this one day, Thursday, February 8th, the moon was in her dark moon phase, conjunct Mercury, and coming off that conjunction with Pluto. So some of you may have had a very intense revelation or a truth or a type of conversation or a download that really is going to become more prominent or is going to start a new chapter, a new cycle in and around this new moon. And it could be something as simple as someone that you love saying something that really illuminated something for you, or you knowing that you're wanting to have that type of mental, that type of emotional support with someone or something moving forward. It could be something that your body has been trying to tell you that finally just clicked and you got the clarity how you want to move to support your body. Whatever that is, don't take that lightly, because with this Pluto ingress, a big energy associated with Pluto is the truth. And I personally link the truth in with a very key factor of Aquarius, like truth, hope, ethics. So with that being said, what is your personal truth? What are you choosing to believe? Remember, our beliefs, our mindset is also highly linked to Aquarius being a fixed air sign. And I also want to bring our attention to, with this new moon, we have Mercury making this applied square to Jupiter, which is amazing. And this can be a time where you go all in with a certain belief, with a certain mindset, with your own personal truth, whatever that is. Because let's look at this from another perspective. There's probably been a celebrity or a public figure that you really admire that was maybe saying things you're like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why do they believe that? They've obviously shown evidence that they're this and this and this. I remember one time when I was in high school, I was reading something about Megan Fox because she was like on the Transformer movie. And she said that she didn't believe that she was sexy or that she didn't believe that she was attractive. And I remember reading that, I was like, she's obviously so attractive. But this is an instance where two truths can be real at the same time. It could be a collective truth that people view her as being very attractive, very sexy, but her personal truth is that maybe she doesn't feel attractive. Maybe she had something that was said to her when she was younger that made her question her beauty or made her question how she is perceived by other people. Who knows what that is? But this is what I'm saying, is that a collective truth versus a personal truth, they ideally can be aligned so that whatever you are feeling, whatever you believe, whatever your personal truth is, it then gets to be mirrored and reflected back to you by the universe. One of my favorites is everyone loves me and everyone wants to support me. And then I attract the right people, whether I'm at the airport, whether I'm at the grocery store, whether I'm with clients, it doesn't matter, because that's my personal truth. And if there's any contention or if there's anything that needs to be addressed, then I know I have the capabilities of having that conversation to then get back to an equilibrium, to come back to a set point where that mutual love and respect is being held. And of course, boundaries are huge because Aquarius is traditionally ruled by Saturn. So if we look at where Saturn is right now, given it's the ruling planet of this lunation, Saturn is making a sextile to Jupiter, which is phenomenal, because if we're talking about Saturn and Pisces, one way that we can look at this is setting boundaries up to support our emotional needs, setting boundaries to support our dreams, setting boundaries to support us in our healing. Healing, dreams, emotional well-being are very strongly linked to Pisces energy specifically. And if there are certain things that don't make sense, certain illusions, certain manipulations, certain vices or addictions that you know are inhibiting you or making it more difficult for your mind to operate at a steady level, this can be a new moon where, given that Saturn is making this really nice sextile to Jupiter, given that Mercury is making a square to Jupiter, that we can seek this higher knowledge, that we can seek greater resources, that we can believe in better, which will then align ourselves with whatever your personal truths are. And I'm sure many of us have come across content where we know that everything is working out in our highest favor, that we can believe that if we were late for work, even if we were reprimanded, that was actually a huge blessing, because maybe if we were on the right train or if we left 10 minutes earlier, there might have been an accident or might have something happened. It's such a blessing that you got a parking ticket, because then this other incident might have been avoided, or you were meant to learn a lesson in that. If you have that as a personal truth, as a personal belief that everything is always working out in your favor, if you're coming up to a difficulty or coming up to something that's hard or painful, then you know that it's a lesson that you need to learn, or you know that it's going to be of such great service, or you know that it's actually protecting you from further pain or further disappointment later on. And I think if we're all being honest, when we're going through something that's hard or challenging or painful, one, if we want to get really woo-woo, it might be a karmic lesson that we're learning that our soul really was excited to learn and to integrate in this timeline. But if you don't want to get that woo-woo, then if you're going through something that's hard and challenging in your day-to-day, then it's up to you to use that critical thinking, to use discernment, to place boundaries so that you either have a different thought or belief around a certain situation, or you change certain things so that it no longer becomes so difficult, becomes so challenging, because we know that we're always co-creating with the universe. We know that there's always options. We know there's always expansion. We know there's always healing. We know there's always good people. There's great people. There's superlative people always that are here for us. Whether or not you want to be open to receive that love and support is purely up to you. So what my challenge is with this Aquarius new moon is to get crystal clear with your personal truths. And if there's a personal truth that you are integrating or that you are initiating that maybe is harder for you to believe, maybe one can be around money, or one is around love, or one is around health, or one is around home, whatever it is, I want you to go back in your timeline, or if you have access to the Akashic records, you can go back in multiple timelines, whatever feels best for you, but let's just keep it to this timeline. Although I'm getting like a lot of pings for other like karmic, past life, soul work, and you don't have to overcomplicate this. Sometimes you can just sit and meditate and see what's coming through for you. So if we're just going to go on the woo-woo side of this for one quick second, because I really do think that Pluto has that energy of death and rebirth. So when Pluto is getting activated and the moon just crossed that threshold with Pluto before it activated this new moon, sometimes it can come up in your physical dreams when you're sleeping. Sometimes it can be like a deep knowing or intuition. Like I'm sure many of you have had an experience when you meet someone that it feels like you've known them for much longer. If you've gone to certain cities, you're like, oh yeah, like this city I've been to before. If you have certain talents or skill sets that people are like, how are you so good at that? It's likely that your soul has done this over and over again. So if we're connecting with those past timelines, those personal truths can be unearthed, polished, and help you in this timeline. So let's say one is photography. You're just incredible at photography. Maybe you intuitively feel that you've done this in multiple timelines, which means that a personal truth can be, I'm extremely creative. I have an eye for beauty. I have an eye for aesthetics. Even if you're not a photographer in this timeline, maybe you do it as a hobby, those personal truths still get to apply in terms of beauty, aesthetics, creativity, in whatever you want to do. And now if we're looking at it just from this timeline, let's say a personal truth is you're always on time. You respect time. You value other people's time. People can depend on you to respect time and to show up and perform. These are all personal truths that would make you highly desirable in any professional setting, right? So let's say you're trying to call in a job and a limiting belief is that I keep going on interviews, but no one is hiring me. That could be true. However, other personal truths can be that you have all these desirable traits that you are going to instead focus on to elevate your frequency to then call in an employer that is going to pay you your worth, is going to fulfill the passions that you want to evoke in your career, and also respect the gifts that you have to offer, right? Same thing with money. Maybe you carry money in a beautiful bag and you cherish that beautiful bag, which means that you cherish money, that you respect people who hold money properly, that you are able to carry money with such grace and such respect. So knowing that you're calling in money, if you carry money with love and respect, then you know that when more money comes in, that it's going to feel safe in your capacity because it's going to have a beautiful home to reside in and that it is going to be cared for. And maybe one truth is that money isn't coming in, hypothetically speaking. But another personal truth can be that you carry and hold money with great respect and love. So which personal truth would you rather focus on and believe to then be in greater alignment for whatever you're wanting to call in? And this is just another way, kind of came to me yesterday or the day before. I'm like, hey, like many truths can obviously exist at the same time, but what is your personal truth? And that personal truth is going to align you with whatever you want. You're just matching your frequency to that. And there can be many truths, but what's your personal truth? One of mine is I'm the exception to every rule. So even if it doesn't work for anyone else, it's going to work for me. And I don't need to manipulate the timeline of like, it has to happen at this point. But there have been many times where people have told me that I can't do this or can't do that, or this is a rule or this is a lease. And I got exactly what I wanted. So I have had evidence that has supported that personal truth that I'm the exception to every rule. And this is where it gets to be fun, where you can go back to your core beliefs and your core truths and collect evidence how this has been true for you your entire life. Because with this Aquarius new moon, I feel like a lot of us are going to be pushed outside of our comfort zone because we have Pluto in here as well in terms of a death and rebirth cycle. We are going to be able to see things in a different way. And it's going to be an opportunity for us to be in connection with different people, different communities, different knowledge, right? Because we have, if we just bring this back up so I can show you, we have the sun and the moon making that square to Uranus. So something is going to shift, something is going to change. And this might be for some of you very instant, or it might feel like it's just coming all of a sudden, but you've probably been asking, praying, manifesting for something very specific. And this might not be the exact answer that you wanted, but trusting that whatever's coming through for you, whatever change, whatever ending, whatever beginning, is actually putting you in the right frequency to then call in whatever it is you're wanting at a higher level. Remember, we have this Mercury square Jupiter, Saturn, the ruling planet of this destination, sextiling Jupiter. There's so much opportunity for growth, expansion, healing, and luck. Like, I mean, we cultivate our luck with the right mindset, with the right energy, but sometimes you're just in the right place, the right time. That's Jupiter. And given that we have two major planets in such a strong aspect to Jupiter, really, really nice. And for those of you that are cultivating some sexy time, some romance, some intimacy, we also see that Venus is catching up to Mars. We also see that Venus is making this trine to Uranus, which is also beautiful as well, because it can be something that you can't even plan, prepare, strategize. Like it can just be this land on your lap opportunity or situation that's coming in. And yes, this can be romance, but this can also be something that you just fully love and are passionate about. So in terms of looking at your own individual natal chart, of course, look at the house that is ruled by Aquarius, because we have all this activation happening there. And also, like I said, reflect back, especially yesterday or whenever you're watching this, reflect back to Thursday, February 8th, because we had the moon conjunct Mercury and Pluto at that time. And that would have likely brought through clarity, a conversation, an idea that is meant to have a bit more attention, or for you to sit with to see what's there for you, whether it's an ending or a beginning, given that it's the energy with Pluto. Secondly, if you have dominant fixed energy in your chart, especially in and around 20 degrees, or these early degrees of Aquarius, like 0 to 3 degrees. So remember that the fixed signs are Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio. If you have any planets in and around 20 degrees, so let's say 17 to 23 or 0 to 3, you are going to be feeling this new moon energy very, very strongly. So all the themes that I talked about, and especially getting clear on those personal truths and affirming that. And something that keeps coming through again and again is, I mentioned this earlier, but have a conversation with someone. And again, it doesn't have to be tumultuous, dramatic. It can just be, I'm really excited to share these things, or these are the things that are on my mind, or maybe there's a friend, a family member, a loved one that you feel called to reach out to. Send that text, send that email, just call them, and just be nice to hear their voice. And there's a lot of activation around this air, this Aquarius energy that can bring through new thoughts, new ideas, new beginnings, and potentially an evolution around that relationship. And I'm not saying you have to lower your boundaries or ignore your boundaries, but even the fact that you're watching this right now shows that you're committed to the work, shows that you want to grow. And when we're approaching any relationship, any conversation, we get to set intentions. We get to set whatever we desire to come out from that. And if it's not aligned, it's not aligned. But I just feel that with this new moon, there's opportunity for new shifts in perception, that even if you maybe had certain notions with certain family, loved ones, friends, lovers, that there's so much change in the air, right? We have the sun and moon making a square to Uranus, unexpected change, revolution, innovation. Excuse me. And again, for some of you that are maybe doubting, it's like, it's not going to happen. I've had this conversation so many times, but your mindset, maybe your personal truths are changing. So if your mindset, your personal truths are elevating and you've done the work, that conversation is going to change. Maybe the way that you are speaking is going to change. Maybe your intention is going to change. Maybe your tone or judgment is changing, which will then obviously make the other person shift no matter what. Or your perception of the words that they speak is going to change because of your new ideals, your new personal truths. That's just how this work works. Another way of looking at this is maybe something that you thought was hard, like at the gym a year ago, is no longer hard because you've done the work. You're like, oh yeah, I can easily run a mile. I can easily lift this amount of weight. It's not hard anymore. But what I'm saying is, if we don't have confidence, if we don't have experience being able to be vulnerable, to have these types of conversations, to join in this type of mental connection, whatever that is, then of course the ego, out of a way of protecting us, will shut us down before we even begin, because it doesn't want to experience any more pain. It doesn't want to die, because if we have these conversations, if we open up our mind, if we expand our mind, then that identity of it not working, of it being hard, is going to die because it's no longer true, right? It's like when you completely change, that old version of you is no longer alive because you've now had different experiences. You've traveled, you've taken a course, whatever it is. So you are the new elevated version of yourself. And I think that's when people try and get caught up. It's like, well, I'm still me. It's like, yeah, but you're the evolved version of you. You might look the same and sound the same to other people, but you know that you've grown and changed. And a lot of times in client consults, they want that growth mindset. They want a partner or a job that also emulates that growth mindset. So if you know that you have a growth mindset and you know that you're growing, then of course, everything around you has to match that frequency. And I don't know why it keeps coming up in my head, but it's like have that conversation. And it's more than just journaling and it's more than just having that conversation with yourself. For whatever reason, I think it might be Venus's influence here as well with that conjunction to Mars trying to Uranus. But whatever you've been wanting, or if there's something, and it can also be a conversation with a future employer or an agent or whomever, but and again, take this if it resonates, but it just keeps coming up again and again. And it's a good note to end on in terms of if there's a conversation that you want to be having, if there's a new beginning or something that you want to clarify, or even just to show you that this work works, have that conversation and allow yourself to be surprised with the answer that you received. All right. Now, that was a lot of condensed information. So I want you to sit with this, to integrate it. I'm going to put some journal prompts and additional homework, some things you've already discussed, like personal truths, and some other things that you can ruminate on with this new moon. And if you feel called to share any breakthroughs, any conversations that worked out in your favor, or just general musings, feel free to do so in the comments below. All right. Sending you all the love and all the magic to enjoy this yummy Aquarius new moon. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.